Hello, everybody. Scott Dresser here with another episode of OCONUSTCL Contractor's Life. Thank you for tuning in. So in this video short, I would like to cover down on three different items that have come up fairly frequently here in the last 2 to 3 weeks. In no particular order, one is what we call weapons clearing, proper weapon clearing, when you pull it out, how do you do this? How do you withdraw from your holster? Yada, 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 other things. And is it 2 shots or is it 3 shots? So we'll go into that, and I'll cover down on those fairly briefly here in just a moment, folks. So most or all of this stuff that I'm talking about right now came up, some of the stuff that we've seen in the media, people being shot that shouldn't have been shot. But that led to other stuff and other questions, and we had other great, really good discussions. But the first thing that seems to get brought up fairly frequently is weapons clearing and, proper handling of it. And it's like, I'm not sure why that's still such a mystery and why it's so difficult for people. The rules that apply to clearing your pistol, your revolver, your handgun, whatever you want to call it, the same with your rifle, your shotgun, your machine gun. I was going to say RPG and bazooka, but not quite. I mean, it's similar, but not the same, right? Kind of like a mortar, tube. You know if there's something in there or isn't. You don't exactly put your head down there, and at least you shouldn't be putting your face down there to check. So the first thing in weapon safety, okay, if you're clearing your weapon, you want to hand it to somebody, or you're going to set it down or whatever because somebody else wants to look at it, you want to make sure it's clear. It's pretty simple and it's pretty easy, folks. Okay, so you've got your pistol, okay, in this case a Glock 19, magazine's in the magazine well, okay, I released the magazine, okay, my finger is indexed. When I've got this pistol in my hand, doesn't matter what I'm doing, my finger is indexed. And I'll go into that later. I have learned the hard way to keep my finger indexed on my rifle, shotgun, machine gun, pistol, whatever, until I am dead 100% certain I'm pulling the trigger. Okay? But I'll go into that later. So I removed the magazine well. Okay, I grabbed the slide. Now you can do it overhand. You can do it this way, which is the way I prefer to do it. Okay, and you pull it back 3 times. Nothing comes out. Now, if you want to make really sure, pull it back the 4th time, lock the slide back, and you simply look down. There's no bullet in there. There's no bullet in there. Okay. It's a pretty simple, straightforward exercise, folks. Now, if I want to hand this to somebody, okay, because I'm clearing it before I hand it to somebody that wants to shoot it, look at it, paint it, whatever they're going to do, then we do kind of what our parents taught us when we were kids, handing a knife to somebody. I grab it from the top and I hand it to the person like this, so that the person that's receiving it, if they were handing it to me, I can take it and properly index it and grip it, as I've been told. Grip it like a man. Grip it like you mean it, okay? Like you're going to shoot it, okay? This is a weapon. It's a firearm. Grip it and hold it like you mean it, okay? If you're that scared and afraid of it, don't grab it. Don't pick it up. Don't hold it. Don't use it. Don't fire it, okay? Leave it alone. Let the big boys and the big girls handle the weapons if you're that scared and afraid of it. So that's pretty straightforward, folks. Same thing, okay, if I'm going to do that with my rifle, an AR-15 platform, for example, okay, probably one of the more widely used weapons, at least here in America. I'm sure there's plenty of other types that there's more people that own them than an AR-15, but AR-15 is actually fairly common out there, the AR-15 platform, okay? Same thing. I got the pistol grip. the buttstock is extended or it's not. Okay, I'm grabbing the slide the slide release. I'm pulling it back. I roll my rifle over a little bit so I can, and we'll go through this again with the real thing, but I'm just doing the same thing, and then I'm locking it back and locking it and doing the same check. Okay, I'm doing the same check. It doesn't matter, but that's how we do it. Okay, and if I'm going to hand it to somebody, I don't necessarily turn it around and point it at me, but I turn it sideways and let them grab it. Okay, or I set it on the desk, table, whatever, let them pick it up. But make sure, regardless, you're not flashing or muzzling somebody, okay, like what I'm doing right now, okay? No matter what I'm doing, this should never be pointed at somebody unless I am going to use it against them, okay? I know shit happens. We all have brain farts. We all make mistakes. We're human. But the muzzle of this pistol should never be aimed at anything or anyone that I am not intending to destroy or kill. Okay? Point blank. That's just the way it is. Okay? If this muzzle is pointed at you and I'm not intending to shoot you, I am negligent along with some other potential crimes that might be charged against me, okay, for pointing a weapon at somebody that wasn't posing imminent harm or threat to me, okay, so I'm just saying, we don't do this unless I am willing to kill or destroy what's in front of me, all right? So enough with that. So another one that gets brought up a lot is, and amazingly, from people that I know who are otherwise pretty solid stand-up people, that are fairly proficient with firearms and ammunition, and arguably, technically anyway, on the technical side, they know more about this stuff than I do, and I make no qualms about it. I'm not an ammunition or weapons expert. I'm good at shooting them, I'm good using them, but I'm not exactly a weapons expert, if you will. Okay, so but one of the things is how do you draw your pistol from your holster properly? And we walk through this whole thing, but basically, because they're concerned like properly indexed. I said, well, it's pretty simple, pretty easy. Depending on the holster you have, okay, it can be easier or more difficult. Again, it just depends on the holster you have. But you're going down, and that finger, that finger should be out when you go down. You should have that ready, okay? And you grip that, and that should be lined up with the safety release. So if you got a level 2 or a level 3 holster, even if you don't, you got a level 1 or a level 0, whatever you want to call it, okay? But that should be lined up, indexed, and it takes practice. You got to know the holster. You got to know where that pistol is in the holster and how everything fits and feels when you get it down there, and it takes practice. So aside from getting a nice snug fit in the dovetail, okay, that finger's indexed. So when you come out, you're just pulling straight up, and that finger's indexed, and it should be exactly where it was earlier in this video, okay? And as I come out, as I punch out, all I got to do is bring my finger down. And if you practice enough, we're talking microseconds, okay? My finger does not need to be in that trigger well, okay? If I know I'm going to shoot, but still I wait until I'm on target to do that. And the reason I do that is I've had ample, they weren't misadventures. Let's just say I had ample experiences where it was a good thing my finger was not in the trigger well, on the trigger, because the situation devolved, de-escalated, whatever you want to call it, at that last minuscule microsecond where I didn't have to pull the trigger. Okay? I mean, countless times, whether it's the rifle or the pistol. Okay? And as the story goes, once you pull that trigger and it goes pop, that bullet goes down range, you can't get it back. Game over. Okay, so I'm just saying that there's more we can go into in the aspect of these things, to make it more clear as to why But again, along with just practice, 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 I'm saying there are good reasons to be indexed as you come out, as you come up, okay? And not have that finger on the trigger until you know you're actually going to pull the trigger, okay? So just something to keep in mind. And in future videos, we'll go through this stuff, demonstrate it physically with the rifles and the shotguns and the pistols, so it maybe will make a little bit more sense to you. And the other thing that comes up a lot is 2 shots or 3 shots. And I ask, what do you mean? They say, oh, well, and then they go into the thing, if I come up and I got to use my pistol and rifle, am I shooting them twice to the chest? Am I shooting 3 times, 5? It's like, I said, well, okay. Well, the standard in private security here in the U.S., at least in all the states I'm aware of, is what we call the stop drill and then the stop failure drill. Okay, and the stop drill, the standard for a long time has been 2 shots, center mass. Okay, followed up by what we call the stop failure drill. If that doesn't work, the person is still showing a threat, they're still hostile, and you're fearing for your life. The stop failure drill, which is the same thing, 2 to the center mass, followed up by that 3rd round right here between the eyes. Okay, what we call the stop failure. And if it's applied properly and it hits where it's supposed to go, it's going to work. Game over, it's done. Problem is that, like so many other precision shots, takes a lot of practice. A lot of dry fire practice at home, in your garage, backyard, wherever. Also takes practice out there on the range, okay, with various targeting systems. Not just paper, not just steel, sometimes mannequins or other kinds of things that more simulate a 3D lifelike kind of person, okay, for angles and one thing or another. We'll go into those things later in future videos. So whether it's 2, but so then they're going to the thing, well, I've been hearing and reading about 3 shots now and how it plays out in the courts. And I said, well, how it plays out in the courts, who knows? I'm not a lawyer. I've not had to argue those cases. I'm not a judge. I haven't listened to them. I don't know. I said, but here's my thing. And I've had this one with people a lot. And amazingly, guys that are in security. And they're scared to death about the liability factor. And my sentiment, my argument is like, look, if you're that concerned about it, if you're that worried about it, it's going to be up here every time you got to do the deed, whatever that deed might be, okay? And it's going to affect how you interact, verbally, physically, whatever, okay? Whether you got to resort to your firearm or not, okay? If you're that concerned about it, if you're worried about it that much, don't get in security, or get out, or at the very least, stop carrying a firearm, okay? I mean, I tell people all the time, and it's a deal breaker with me, always has and always will be, okay? I don't leave my house without a firearm, at least one, okay? Just like my knives. I never go anywhere without at least one knife. Usually I've got 2 or 3 on me, okay? The bad guys, the criminals, are armed. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I be? I damn sure am not going to work without a weapon. It's just that simple, okay? Call me what you will, think what you will, but the fact of the matter is, A, I'm not out there looking for trouble. I don't start trouble, and I'll do what I can to walk away from the trouble. Go around it, go over it, go under it, whatever. If I'm left with no choice and I have to go through it, I will. I'll do what needs to be done. I'll argue my case in court, and hopefully my lawyer and the people sitting in the jury are smart enough to understand that I did it right. Okay, I was left with no other choice. So I did what I had to do. Okay, but that, I don't want to go too far astray, but but I've had, those are conversations. So aside from making sure your weapon is clear and handling it properly, drawing or coming up properly, and whether it's 2 shots or 3 shots, and that's the other thing, it's like 2 shots or 3 or 5 or the whole magazine. Man, it just depends on the situation, okay, and what you're experiencing, okay? So we can go through all kinds of scenarios, and there's ample scenarios to cover. But here's the thing. It depends on the person you're dealing with. How big are they? I mean, literally, how physically big are they? Are they doped up? If so, how much dope and what kind of dope? Okay? If they're an average sized person and they're not doped up, chances are it won't take but a few rounds. Okay? 22, 9mm, 45, whatever you got. Okay? Chances are that's all it'll take. 2 or 3. If you even need that many. Then say, well, should I be using hollow point or should I be using Full Metal Jacket ball rounds? I said that debate still rages. Okay, let me tell you my experiences. Okay, and the experience of other people. So hollow points are great. They do a lot of damage right there to the area they hit. They flatten out. They do their thing, but they don't penetrate quite like the ball round does. Again, caliber makes a difference, but still, that's just a fact. Okay, they don't penetrate as much. And if you got a really big person, especially if they're doped up, I mean, just high, they don't realize they're being shot. They don't realize they're bleeding. You might have to expend the entire magazine, air them out, bleed them out, whatever you want to call it. And they still won't stop. Okay, magazine change, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, you might have to do that 2 or 3 times. There's ample stories of guys having to empty an entire 30-round magazine into people and they still don't stop. Which leads me to the next thing, because this is commonly part of the conversation is, well, when do you stop? When they stop. You stop when they stop. Okay, you didn't start it, they did. So just like a fist fight, knife fight, whatever, you stop when they stop. So if you're worried about liability and going to court or killing the person or being somebody arguing that you assassinated them because you drilled them between the eyes, okay, there's plenty of disabling shots. Again, it takes practice, lots of practice, dry fire practice on the range with the targets, okay? So we're talking like elbow shots, shoulder shots, kneecap shots, hip shots, specifically the pelvic girdle, okay? So you've got to practice that stuff because you can disable people, pelvic girdle, knees, whatever. Maybe all it takes is a couple shoulder shots for them to stop, okay? Or one right there in the elbow. Maybe that's all it takes. We've seen videos where it just took one round through the dude's bicep or forearm, I guess it was, and maybe it was his bicep. Anyway, and that was all it took. So typically with most people, one bullet shot, if they're not doped up, is probably all they really need for them to go, oh shit, this is real. Okay, I'm done. Sorry, kidding. So the disabling shots are a great thing if you practice them. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with going with those first when you come out of the holster. Okay, because then you don't got to worry about trying to articulate against an argument that you meant or tried to kill that person. You may end up having to do that because you have to air them out because they just wouldn't stop. Okay, so again, it just depends on the situation. That's one of the reasons why when the argument comes up, how many magazines do I take? Well, take as many magazines as you can put on your body, I guess. I know people that carry just one magazine in the pistol and that's all they carry. Others carry a second, others carry a third. And I know guys that have 3 magazines over here and 2 or 3 over here. Okay, it just depends. Nothing wrong with being prepared because you just don't know how much you're going to need. You can give me all the lame ass BS analytical study shit that you've drummed up as to why you only need 1 magazine. Okay? Real life experiences typically show you need more than 1. But if you only need 1, great, that's all you needed. Nothing wrong with having more. Okay? I mean, it's like, I only need 1 knife? Really? Okay. I can cite many examples why I might need more than 1 knife. Okay. Baseball bat? Maybe I want 2 baseball bats. Okay. I'm just saying, you go to the bar, do you have one drink or do you have as many drinks as you need? Okay, kind of, maybe that didn't make a lot of sense, but I'm just trying to make the point. Look, here's the thing. Magazines, as many as you think you need, as many as you feel comfortable with. If you're comfortable with one magazine, you think you can do what you think you're going to need to do in a real life situation when the shit hits the fan and the police aren't there to stop it and take over for you, there you go. If you're that good and you can do what you need, I've had guys argue that they can, I don't need anything but a 6-shot revolver, 6 bullets. That's all I need. And I'm like, okay. I guess we'll find out one of these days, Whatever you think you need to make sure that you are safe, your family, your friends, whoever you're with, okay? The people you're defending or protecting, if you're charged, you're getting paid to do stuff, okay? So, again, that's kind of it's a personal choice, it's an experiences choice, okay? It's an assessment choice, If I'm working, I tend to carry more than if I'm out by myself, okay? It just depends, and what I take with me. Depends on where I'm going and what I'm doing and who I'm going there with or who I'm meeting. It just depends, okay? So we'll wrap this up here. Down and dirty, those are the things that come up a lot here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. They've come up a lot in the past, but again, and I was surprised in the last few weeks, it's like, wow, how many times it came up, these sorts of things. But again, it's your experiences will dictate what you do, how you do, and when you do, and why. Okay, and maybe some other things. So, but these are my experiences, and they've taught me some hard-learned lessons. Okay, might be one of the reasons I have such a weird sense of humor, But it's again just practice handling the weapon, practice clearing it, practice safe handling of your weapons, okay? And remember, when you come out, make sure you're going to use it. Don't point it at anything or anyone you're not willing to destroy or kill, all right? So rather than beating a dead horse, we'll leave that stuff there. In a future episode or 2 or 3, we'll more demonstrably articulate and show these things in practice. So for now, remember to stay safe by staying frosty and be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. We've seen a lot of that lately. And until next time, folks, most importantly, keep it real.